Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of GameGuru MAX live broadcast number 79, and this time it's a little different. Why? Because we're using something called Restream, and I have absolutely no idea if any of this has started. So there's only one way for me to know for sure whether you can hear me, which is to ask. See if anyone can hear me. Oh, got me on the live chat. Good morning, hi everybody, and we can hear you. Thanks very much, OJ and Brevin. I can carry on talking, great. So, briefly, before we get stuck in, just want to explain what that Restream reference was. Up until now, we've just been broadcasting to one vertical, which is basically our YouTube channel. And we decided, new money for old rope, and to get more eyeballs, we should try and look for other streaming platforms. And so we used to use something called Twitch, and we still have the account. So now we're using a service called Restream, which could stream to two separate streaming services at the same time. Actually, it supports something like 30 platforms, but we're just going to start with two just to see if it all works out. So I apologize in advance for any technical difficulties that we may encounter. We are all part of one gigantic streaming experiment right now. So I apologize in advance if it goes horribly wrong. Now, anyone's looking enough to join live, you can ask me some questions. Just pop a question mark at the end. Towards the end of this broadcast, I'll read through the live chats, find any questions, answer as many as I can, and the rest I will answer in the GameGuru forums later on, along with a recording of this broadcast. So, what is it I want to show you? This week, I'm going to show you AI. So, I have taken the liberty of already running the software, and we're going to go into a level that I did not create. I may have embellished it a little bit. This is actually a test. We're calling it the test arena. It's made entirely out of wood and created by my good friend Synchromesh, who is allowing me to use this during the broadcast, so thank you very much. And what I'm going to show you is some of the things that's probably been frustrating you for the last couple of weeks in terms of the AI. It's not completely finished yet. I'm going to continue to work in AI all the way through to March, and most definitely after March as well. But at least we can get rid of all these silly, obvious niggles. And this Friday's build, anyone who's lucky enough to be a pre-order user will be able to get a build on Friday where you get access to these improvements on the AI side. I'm just going to show you a few of them. But rest assured there will be more AI goodness by the time we give you the build on Friday. So before I run the software, the level, I just want to give you some overviews. This guy, we call him Billy Joe, and right off the bat I want to show you this. His allegiance is set to neutral. As you can see, you've got three allegiance types: enemy, allies and neutrals, and this guy is set to neutral. And I just want to point this out in the behaviors component, which is a new field called combat time. And all these other ones that I might have explained in previous broadcasts, but we've got the ability to allow a headshot, so it's one shot to the head, bang, they drop straight to the floor. And combat time, it's the amount of time a character will engage in combat activity before they get bored and go back to their starting position. So that's effectively what combat time is, and you'll find that playing a role when I press test game, which is what I'm going to do right now. And again, I apologize if the noise of the gun shooting is too loud. I'll try and talk in between the sound effects. I'll kill my enemies before I start talking again. So as you see, he's a neutral. So he's not interested in me, he's not interested in fighting my enemies. He's completely neutral in this game. But as soon as I wound him, he's angry now.
Who's there? Enemy contact!
And I get rid of him, and as you see, I've got a low headshot, so one shot to the head, got rid of the guy. So as you see, don't be shooting indiscriminately. If you shoot neutral, it'll turn on you. And if you're being very clever with your gameplay, you could set the shooting strength to really high, so you do not want to mess a bit with the NPCs. Now, there's some characters down here which I've set as enemies. They've seen me through the window.
Enemy spotted.
And they've spotted me. So they were currently on a patrol, but now they've seen me, they're going to chase me. And providing they keep engaging in combat, like shooting and stuff, that 3-second counter applies. So I just do a headshot there, another headshot, like so. Another thing I'd like to show. You notice the character didn't fall through the wall as you might have done previously. All the death animations now is using something called Ragdoll Plus, which I introduced last Wednesday's broadcast, which means it finds a good place on the floor, chooses the most appropriate animation, so if you're shot from the front you'll fall back, and then make sure that there's no geometry penetration in the final death pose, which is what you see here. And of course this is just a flat surface, but if it was on a slope or on some steps, it would also conform to that angle as well, so it's always sitting on the surface. Again, a few little tweaks I'd like to do, but the bulk of the functionality is now in place to show you just that. Now I just want to show you something else. Remember the combat time I was talking about? Well, let's see if we can trigger that. We're going to provoke the enemy and probably start shooting at me. Then I'm going to try and run off so she gets bored, and over 3 seconds hopefully she'll then go back to her starting position following. If I just have a quick look through the window, you see she's on that patrol route like so, like that. She's on the but she's seen me now, so she's got 3 seconds to home down on me. This has been improved, so they will follow you pretty much anywhere out of sight. See, within 3 seconds, so find another vantage point, bang bang. But let's have a bit of a run now. Let's try and get away from her. I've lit the scene just to make it look a bit more interesting. She's still chasing me. I don't want to get into any dead ends, so run this way, around here. For 3 seconds there can't be any combat going on, so let's see if we can hide. Just behind here. Oh! She'll go to the last known position where I've been seen, so there will still be a chase until there's literally no combat going on. Can't see me. Go to the last known location, still can't see me, etc. So I'm trying to hide here. Hopefully I get away with it. Not being shot at. This is good. Ow! So as you can see, she's pretty clever about looking for me. I am going to really try and hide now. Let's see if we can get all the way in here. Dunk. 3 seconds. I might have set this character something like a 20-second combat time, so the combat will continue for a very long. Oh, did you hear that? I think she's finally given up. Oh, she's running. Where's she running to? Can you see her just over there? That's kind of better vantage point. This is kind of the good and the bad of testing AI. You can have a lot of fun just running around and trying things out, but there's a gazillion and one edge cases you've got to be aware of. Try and sneak up on the... There, yeah, she's back to her patrol, so she's given up. And she's got great eyesight. Now, what I'm thinking is, you know, people aren't really noticing stuff at a great distance, so maybe the target visible condition can degrade based on distance and how much profile the player's exposing to the enemies and other characters. But for now, just do a headshot here. Sorry, I'm gonna get the head right on. For now, yeah, they're eagle-eyed and eager to engage in combat. Much easier to test with this supreme enemy and then dial it back based on the human inequalities, such as bad eyesight, bad aiming, lack of good memory, all that kind of stuff. But it's markedly better than, say, a version you was playing only last Friday. So I look forward to your feedback on this. As I said before, as soon as this broadcast is over, I'm straight back onto AI, looking a little bit more at things like patrols and neutral characters and zombies, and some of the little edge cases on the projectile combat as well. So expect a few more tweaks. And it's been requested by the community that you'd like to see more in terms of the changelog. Currently, we just gave you the highlights. But what we're going to do now is, for those who are interested, it's not going to be blasted all over the front page, but you will have a full changelog from the last 7 days, which goes into the minutiae of exactly what it is we've changed, added or subtracted. For those people who are really into a particular section, they want to find exactly what's going on instead of just the broad strokes reports on what we feel was a generalization of what we did in those 7 days. So looking at the clock now, if I just come out of there, if I scroll back to here, so you have a nice little picture for what I'm going to pop in next, which of course is our chat. Now, I'm using Restream and it has its own chat window, but because of tradition, and until I find a better way, we'll just use our YouTube chat window, which services pretty well. You can read the questions and the comments and see where I am in the list in the grand scheme of things. The Restream chat window on the OBS streaming software, I can only see like 4 posts at a time. So by the time I've read it, it's definitely going to have scrolled on. So as is the format, I'm going to answer some questions for a couple of minutes, probably get it to about the 20-minute mark, and I'm going to pick a couple of questions from people who haven't asked a question before. So if you haven't asked one already, save it up. And not just ask it as soon as possible. Okay, so looking for question marks. Let's see, any worthy questions out there? Here's one from Super Confident Man. He gets his questions in really early. Any plans to add an urban template map, randomized? There are no plans to add urban template map into the March release of GameGuru MAX. If you want to be more specific, absolutely do so in the GameGuru forums, and we will give you some hints as to what we're thinking about in terms of providing additional content. But the main thrust of GameGuru MAX is that we're going to give you the tools to go out and find your own assets. That's buildings, scenery items, characters, things like that. And so you can bring original art in to create more of an original game for the time when you want to go out and put it on Steam or share it with friends. So who's got the next question mark? We're going to go down right a bit. Some advice here about OBS. Great, I'll read that later. I don't really want to slow down the question time. Here's a question from SS. What competition is going on? Yeah, there's a lot of game makers out there currently. I would say the ones who are keeping an eye out just for inspiration and adulation are things like Unity and Unreal and Godot and a few others. But yeah, we do want to get sort of a consumer level of quality in this product. But we're by no means in direct competition with the likes of Unity and Unreal. They're large prosumer tools with far too many functions for us to match with huge teams. And there's just no way we'll be able to play at that level. We're not Premiership. But, you know, we have aspirations, as indeed we all do. Here's another question from Tom. Those wood objects in the room, Lee, is using available on Max? No. As mentioned, this was created by Synchromesh. I think he created all of his own models as well. They're really nice. They light very well when you put lights in the scene. And it's perfect. It's really low poly. You can test a lot of AI with it. So I'll be using this for quite a while. Probably using this all the way through to March. Would you like to create your own versions of this? Well, there is the structure editor. Go check that out in the developer mode inside the settings tab. And maybe Synchromesh would be very nice and give you some floor and some wall pieces and some door and some window pieces. So you could piece them all together yourself. Who knows? Ask in the forums. I'm sure he might oblige. Okay, here's another question. This is from Ciro Atari. Sorry about the pronunciation. I think the question's more important. Can AI follow a path, avoiding obstacles? The floor zones. Yeah, we got rid of floor zones. Floor zones was something that GameGuru Classic introduced. We don't need them anymore. We have automatically generated nav meshes for any static geometry in your level, no matter what. Whether it's a hill created with the terrain sculpting, or static objects you've dropped down, or any kind of object. The system will try and calculate a nav mesh, and the nav mesh tells the characters where they can stand. Moreover, now we know where they can stand, we have a system which will automatically calculate paths on top of those nav meshes. So anywhere there's a place you can stand, there's a possibility a path can be calculated to move over them. So you can say goodbye to floor zones, and yes, obstacles will be avoided if those obstacles are not part of the nav mesh. The nav mesh just moves around the obstacle for you, and it's all pre-calculated, so in the game it's nice and fast. Okay, next question mark is one from Joe Heath. It's, hi, first time on here. Will we be able to drive/destroy vehicles? There are no plans to add vehicles into the March release of GameGuru MAX. potentially a large subject, adding vehicles and vehicle physics and controls for vehicles and all the interactions with every other element within the game. And so we're not looking at that in the immediate future. We're more likely to go and switch to first-person role-playing game and then puzzle elements, potentially then VR. And the vehicles are not on that short list. We're not saying we're not doing it, we're just not doing it right now. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight into the world of GameGuru MAX and vehicles. Here's a question from Tino Gomez. Hi friends, can someone tell me if you can do bridges or caves? Because I do not give it achieved. Bridges, no bridges. Caves, no caves. You can do both if you import said assets. You can create bridges and caves. But I think in a stock library of over 1,000 assets, we don't have bridges or caves. Good idea though. I'm sure you could fudge something up. But there's no dedicated bridges, no dedicated caves in the merch version of the assets we have right now. Is this a question? Looks more like a comment. Okay, looking for a question mark. Another comment. Here we go. This is from Smool for South. What's the competition and how can I compete? You know what? I think there was a competition question earlier and I might have misanswered it. As in, got the answer completely wrong. If you are indeed referring to the create a demo level for us for the end of the month, that competition's still running. All you've got to do is create a small demo that demonstrates something specific, make sure you've got a sense of quality about it, and submit it to Rick before the end of the month. If it's good enough, there is cash money at the end of it, and we get to put it into the software in merch. It's a great opportunity to get yourself on the credits, to get you some of your own creation into the first early access release of GameGuru MAX. It's an exciting opportunity. Please check out the competition. You'll find more information on that in the GameGuru forums, and please do have a go. You know, you haven't really got anything to lose except perhaps a short weekend. So, next question, another one from Tom. Question, can all those figures be changed on how long the AI would chase you or stay in combat? Yeah, as you saw that combat time slider, it defaults to 3 seconds, which I think is fine for a character to see you, run up some steps, have a look around, and if you've gone, you've gone. But you can set that to anything, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 999 years, infinite combat time. That's entirely up to you, but we've put it onto the properties so you can access it nice and simple without worrying about scripts or logic or anything like that. So looking at the clock, we're at 90 minutes in, so we're still okay for questions, so I shall continue. This is another one from Super Confident Man. Can the characters be triggered by hearing the player? Great observation. You may have noticed they weren't really turning around when all that fire play was going on. There's 2 things that currently are not in the AI. They're also not really on my A1 priority list, but I am going to be adding them. One is the idea that a character can respond and be alerted to a sound. The sound reaching them, and that sound being suspicious, like a gunshot, they'll go and investigate. Perhaps we put it on a flag where this enemy can investigate gunshots at a distance. It might be an idea to give you that control. And the other one is something called aggro, the idea that if you shoot a character and there's 2 other characters right next to them, they should be able to say, hey, something fishy going on here, and then they all get sort of aroused by the activity, and so they all run off as a pack. Now, you can deliberately do that by linking the characters together, but I think most people will just drop characters down quickly in a group, and you'd expect all the group to go rushing off to deal combat. Not just one out of the group because the other 2 just happen to be turning in the wrong direction. It could be that automatically sorts itself out when there's a gunshot happening, because then they'll obviously go into alert status. So I'm doing it in that order. And then those are the 2 things that I think are clearly missing. So yeah, enemies and allies and neutrals to some degree will be able to hear and then do something with that knowledge. 3 question marks here from Fat Dad. Can we have trees that have snow on them for the winter scenes that are attached to the generator? You most certainly can. What's going on right now and in the background, and you've not really seen any of it, is what we're calling biome tweaking. All of the 7 biomes you get in the terrain generator, we're working on each one to make sure that the terrain textures, the grasses, the trees, We're even looking at bushes and large shrubs and things. All of them blending perfectly. And when we got to the Arctic, which we've renamed to the snowy biome, we thought we need trees with snow on them. And I've already seen some early screenshots. It looks really good. So look out for that in the not too distant future. Really excited to share a much improved set of biomes to choose from. You'll get to see that pretty soon. Okay, Martin Oliver question. Rick mentioned grass will change this week on GitHub. What's this all about? Certainly change on GitHub. We are passionate users of the GitHub repo system to check in all of our work, and it's a great cloud backup so we don't lose stuff if the computer explodes. But as to whether it'll be released this week, that's another question. I've basically been focused on the AI. Check-ins have been going in, but they're safe. But the terrain stuff, there's a lot of changes happening under the hood, in the assets, a lot of interdependencies. So the question will be before Friday, is that stable enough to release on the Friday build? And that decision hasn't been made yet. So don't hold your breath, but it is pretty imminent that you're going to be able to see this. If not this Friday, probably next Friday, but don't quote me on that. So now I've blasted past the 20-minute mark, as is my promise. I'm going to find 2 questions from people who haven't asked before, and then the rest I will absolutely answer in the GameGuru forums later on. So we got a question mark at the end of a sentence who was typed out by AZ Graphics. Will be chance to make and customize outfit and accessories for the characters made in GameGuru MAX. Yeah, we have radically improved our character creator. We've added lots of body parts. You've now got 4 base types, so male, female, zombie male and zombie female, all built-in animations and rigs and all the clever behaviours and stuff. But yes, you can change all the heads, bodies, legs, hats, beards and all the things that you might want. Obviously, you'll still want to add more and more, but we're going to feed those to you a bit at a time. But there's certainly enough to be able to create your own custom characters right now. And that's something I think that we will expand upon in the future, because it's going to be one of the central pivoting points of your game, the characters that you can create and what those characters do in your game. I think that would be a pretty key role. So expect the character creator to expand over time. But you can certainly check it out now. It's pretty easy to find. Just go to the add button in the top left and then select character creator, and you're straight into the character creator module. And the last question of the day, it scrolled a little bit, but I can still keep up. Martin, sorry, you've already asked your question. Tanner Productions, you haven't asked yet. What games are your inspiration for GameGuru MAX? Far Cry, Silent Hill, what games are you looking at and saying, this is what our users should be able to create? You were right first time, Far Cry. I pretty much played all of them up to the most recent one. And it's a good template for great first-person experiences and AI that's not too sophisticated and confusing, and large worlds with all of the different game mechanics you'd expect, like guncraft and exploring and following a decent narrative. Lots of really nice things going on there, and it is one of our inspirations. We do take inspiration from a more wider field of games, but yeah, I would put Far Cry pretty high up. And if we got anywhere close to them, I think we'd do ourselves really proud. But yeah, I'm not really the one who just plays games all day. Far too busy. Far too busy writing the tools and the technology. I leave the game playing to my teammates. Okay, so that's it for a broadcast. I've not gabbled on too long, so I can pat myself on the back for that. As I said, next week we'll probably get to show you some terrain. I think you've probably had enough for a while with AI and things like that, and you want to see more visuals and eye candy, so hopefully I'll be able to bring you lots of eye candy. And as usual, that will be on Wednesday, 4 p.m. GMT. I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast this week. I've enjoyed talking, as usual, and I will speak to you all next week. So until then, goodbye.